Welcome to the Shellonomics Podcast, your source for pure Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles entertainment, presented by King Mictus.
Hey guys, we are here with our good friend Isaac, who is a part of the second documentary from Ninja Turtles. Isaac, I just saw Turtles, the 35th anniversary of movies last week. I see the deleted scene, and then I see a familiar face. I'm like, wait a minute, I know this guy. So can you please tell us what an honor it was and how that came to be to actually show part of your documentary before the movie?
Oh, it was a huge honor. It was a lot of layers to that because I don't think I kind of really fully wrap my head around what kind of an honor it was, because I was going to end up being the person to enter the movie itself in a way. Fathom, the event company, reached out to us because, of course, they do their anniversary specials of their special events. And they're great. They're great shows. And to their credit, they do this really cool thing where they try to have something unique ahead of the screening within sort of like a specific time frame, because the theaters don't want to be showing a bunch of other stuff. They want to show the movie. So they got this little blip of time before the movie that they can sort of do something special for fans to make it more attractive to fans. So they had reached out to us and said, do you have anything kind of exclusive that we could show from the first film? Because, of course, they knew of our first documentary and the follow-up. So they knew that from looking at the social medias around our Kickstarter that we had planned on doing like a commentary with the director Steve Barron, and we had connections with different people involved in the movie. So we said, yeah, you know what? We had just wrapped up the commentary that we had recorded with Barron for the Kickstarter, which was sitting down with me and Steve looking at all of the dailies that we had collected and reviewing and sort of doing a commentary on those. So I said, you know what, let's use some of that ahead of the movie and sort of tease some of it, and we'll help you out making a special feature if we can mention our backer kit, because we did have a successful Kickstarter, but which is maybe not a lot of people realize, is that once a Kickstarter happens, you can have a backer kit where the people who have already backed it can add, but we actually have a backer kit where anybody who still wants to get it can still come and get it. So we said, hey, if we can get the word out in front of these screens, then that would be a fantastic opportunity to help them out, help have a little special thing for fans going to the theaters, and also to show what we've still got available and help fans get their hands on it.
Yeah, exactly, especially for the re-release of the movie coming out in 4K. So I'm sitting there and they start off with the deleted alternate ending, and it's like, most Turtle fans have seen that. Is this documentary going to deliver? So I'm in there, I see that. I see the Shredder scene, really cool, a little more in-depth, because in the first doc it wasn't really close up, so it was awesome seeing that. And then, sorry, not sorry, but this is going to be a spoiler, we see Casey Jones sitting in a chair, just like the comic movie book that I read, and I'm like, this was not in the movie, but this would have been cool if it was. And the documentary delivered that. So what made you choose that scene to add to the little, sneak peek?
Well, I had kind of a window of a specific amount of time that we could show, and so I kind of gave the event organizers a selection. I said, we can show this, 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 or this, or a combination of those. They kind of helped refine which ones they wanted to show at the screening. To your point, yes, the cold open showing the deleted ending, that was on a German release of the movie years ago, so it's been floating around the internet for a long time. So that wasn't really something that they just asked us to put that there.
Sure.
We didn't really have that in our dailies. So the dailies that we have found, it's kind of one of those funny things where, and for people who don't know the term, dailies just means when you're making a movie, you take the raw footage that you were collecting that day and you look at it the next day, and they call it the daily. So you collect, the best takes of all the stuff you've shot. So you have sort of the raw footage of the film. And at a specific moment in time when they were in production, they were sending VHSs out of chunks of the daily. So we had only been able to collect, we don't really know, in terms of the total percentage, maybe it's half or 2/3 of the movie's raw footage. So there are little things in there that are different or alternate takes, or it's just cool to see. And then a few deleted things that didn't make the final cut. But to Steve Barron's point, in there, not a lot was cut out. Like, there's sort of the legendary ones, and there's a lot of sort of legend around the making of this movie, where is this? Was this filmed? Was it not filmed? Even that Shredder scene, there was an image of it, I think from a Topps trading card or something, floating around for ages. And then when we found it in the dailies, it was like, oh, this is what this is. It's only this. It's like 2 shots, and these 2 shots happen in the middle of this scene. There they are, which we edited together for the first documentary, which you noticed, and a lot of that has been floating around the internet. So the few remaining things that were sort of deleted or cut, we kind of, the Casey was an obvious choice, because it's straight from the comic book. It's a nice little nod to the sort of the origin of that character being just a guy who watched a lot of bad television. That's why he's angry, which is a great origin. And I think that Barron was right. He said that, if we did, there's no reason why that couldn't make an extended, director's cut. But even he says it in that little opening thing where he goes, there almost isn't enough to make a director's cut. There is no real alternate cut of this movie. It's like very slight differences here and there. The stuff that we don't know, I don't know if I should say all the stuff we don't know, because that maybe indicates what we don't have. But we do have some more that's actually that hasn't been seen yet. So
that's what I'm looking forward to. Because again, I would say like the common, again, there's always tiers of fans in any group, and common fans probably have not seen that German release, but I would say the higher tier, like the diehards, know about it. And for me, what a treat it was just to see that Casey Jones deal. It just really touched the soul, where it's like, I always love seeing new stuff, and they did such a great job with just how clean this release was. I mean, me and my buddy are just trying to find all the spots. Like, hey, there's Burger King. Hey, there's Pepsi. I didn't know Bazooka Joe's in the movie now, because they have all this clean cut stuff.
Yeah, if you look really close in the phone booth that Mikey orders the pizza from, there's that little mascot that I think he was a Pizza Hut mascot or a Pizza mascot. He's like a little red dude with little. He looked like a rabbit.
Oh wow! I gotta watch. Next time I watch, I'm gonna keep my eyes on that.
He's like hanging from dangling from the top. There's so many little bits and bobs in that movie where they're just hidden deep in the background. Like Roy Ford Smith, the production designer, was so good at that. Like the set deck and everything was just so gorgeous. So much texture, so much layers, and it was such a beautifully done movie.
Yeah, it's almost like those hidden Mickeys. So, can you give us any updates on this documentary? This is a Kickstarter started last year. Congratulations on getting that Kickstarter filled. I know you do provide updates for the fans and those who are excited to get the release. Last time we had you on, we see those figures. It looks like those are coming along very well. If you'd like to talk to us about those a little bit too.
Yeah, this. If there's any delay or slowdown, it's because of this here. And one of the key things that we did the Kickstarter based on was the idea that we weren't just going to go and make these figures somewhere. We were going to do them domestically, and that may or may not be relevant to a lot of backers. They may not care whether or not something is made overseas or domestically. And it's not necessarily that was an altruistic goal. It's just that we were already developing a toy company, a manufacturing company that was a sort of part of our ecosystem. And so we used this as an opportunity to kind of really kickstart that company as well as these figures. So for, when it comes to creating any kind of product, the learning curves of how to develop the tooling and how to inject plastic and the paint applications, the packaging, the blisters, everything is a very involved and very expensive and difficult thing to do. So, we were using this as our trial system to get there. So these guys are all still prototypes right here in front of you. I actually am in the factory, but nothing's running right now. The tooling is being cut at a mill. We spent the better part of a year developing the way that we're doing that. But we're very, very close to starting to actually reproduce these guys in mass. So the card backs, actually the real card backs, are just across the room here. I've got, there's thousands of them in boxes over here. So they're already printed and done. This one's actually got a mistake. I didn't really want to show it, but the title is a bit too low. So before this went to the printer, this has all been fixed.
Those figures look so cool. Is the back also done? The back of the can we check that out?
Yeah, for sure. So this is just a mock-up of a prototype of Kevin in a blister. So we'll actually be producing the blister and everything in-house. The printing is something we had to get done elsewhere. This actually was incorrect. The title was too low. So we brought that up so it sits a little better, so the blister won't be covering it. That's the Kevin there. So you can actually still see his name. So this is the back of it here. So the art we got Ali Espinoza, who's on on Instagram. I think he's under that, Ali Espinosa on Instagram. Fantastic artist, and we just sort of said, because he does this really great, homage art to the original packaging. So he actually did all the layout and everything. I only adjusted slight little things, and he really did it all. I just did our kind of, this is a really deep cut title. I couldn't obviously put the real title there, so we had to do our own version. So that's the only thing I changed. Otherwise, Ali's like, he's phenomenal. And
looks just like the OGs I grew up with, man.
Yeah, and then so when you get like the snot gun guy or what do we call him? This is actually the original name. Yeah, Shot of Snot. That's the original name that John Handy gave him. So you actually get his bio. There's a Pete bio for his card, and then of course you have the alternate figures to what's not on this card, right? And custom art for this guy, which is fantastic. And Ali's rendition of Turtles and everything. But yeah, we wrote like bios for them and did all the specs. And the bios are fun for Kevin and Peter because of course they're, we have to say what their weapons and their birthplace and their height and their weight are. So we didn't want to actually, guess Kevin and Peter's weight in 1987. So we said he was too busy signing and sketching comics at con to make it weigh-ins. So fun little details like that. And so our story behind the title is sort of silly because if anybody had watched the first documentary we did, Peter opens the documentary with this cold open where he talks about how they used to take this bus to work or somewhere. They would go from town to town, and they would make this joke where they said, what if these turtles jumped out of the swamp and kicked the bus and spun it around? And we called them bus-kicking turtles. And he thought that's where the idea germinated from having action-oriented turtles. So we call it the bus-kicking turtle origins. So it's a fun little title. So yeah, so those are the card backs. They're unpunched, so they are punched but unpunched. So actually, collectors can leave them in off the peg if they want. Some people actually ordered just the card backs. Some people ordered the figures on the card.
How's the articulation on these figures, Isaac? How's the articulation?
Articulation, yeah. So the articulation on these are all 5-point like the original. We're still working out whether or not we do. This is glue. He's glued to this piece of film,
sure.
So I can't move his legs. But we may or may not do ball joints in the hips. It's a little bit difficult, but we might pull that off. Head turns, I don't have his accessories in front of me, but you can see Kevin's accessory sprue in there. So they both have the sprue, just like the original Turtles with the weapons rack, and then all of their, like Kevin comes with a cheese grater, which is how they invented Shredder, tinfoil side. They both have comic books that'll have stickers of their favorite art. He comes with a lobster and a nunchucks, and Pete comes with a wooden katana, a broomstick, bow staff, a comic sketchbook, a triceratops, and a slice of pizza. And they also, this guy, they both have the little turtles on them too, which is really fun. Like it's on his foot and on his shoulder.
Nice.
They've got the little baby turtles.
Yeah,
and then there's actually two versions of them. These are the smaller versions, which are the sort of the more Kenner style. So they'll actually, some people ordered these instead. They go on this card. But right now I'm actually just organizing prototypes because we just did we're doing a kind of an investment raise with the toy company using working with Steve Varner with hard copies that he sent us of original Turtle hard copies. So you might like some of these.
Man, that's a ooh-la-la if I ever saw one.
Yeah, there's actually a really nice ooh-la-la in here. I've got to see if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. This is my earbud just died, so I'm gonna switch my other earbud. There we go. Is that working? Are you there, so? Oh, there you go. So this is that's the original, one of the last remaining original pitch turtles.
Wow.
So that's like the first of the first of the first from Steve.
And the tail's in there too, right? At the bottom, the early ones that have the tail sticking out or something, right?
Yeah. These were never articulated. They were literally just a sculpture to show what the toy would look like. Another big one is this guy. This is Krang's android body.
Oh man, it's sick.
Yeah. So that's the original hard copy for him. Yeah. So there's a few good ones in there still. We're actually going to do an auction, but a lot of them are selling before the auction. Actually, people can reach out and actually do a buy it now privately beforehand. So those are pretty cool.
Now, Do you also talk about the toys a little more in depth in this documentary compared to the first one? Is there any more extra footage with that? I know we got a lot more about the movie in the 2003 series. So
I will say this, is that I'll reveal this to you for the first time. Nobody else knows this. Is that we just, when we were just down to California and filming with Steve Varner, there's a special feature for Steve Varner diving into his archive of hard copies and stuff and talking to him a little bit more in depth in terms of the toys and sculpting. But we actually also had another thing we wanted to do on this trip. And for those who know, we did a documentary on He-Man and the Masters of the Universe many years ago as well. And for that film, we interviewed a man named Mark Taylor a few times, who was arguably kind of the designer, the father of He-Man, if you will. And I knew this after the fact, but I didn't know it when we interviewed Mark, and he's sadly passed away now, is that he kind of is the reason that the Ninja Turtles look the way they look. Not the Turtles themselves, but the toy line. Because he was hired at the last second before the cartoon went, into animation, before the line was finished. The original toy line, as I've been telling the story many times, was going to be, these bad guys that were all human. Mm-hmm. And then Peter kept drawing these mutant animals, and he thought this would be really cool. So Bebop and Rocksteady were Peter's idea. But was Mark Taylor from He-Man, who had left Mattel to Tomy and came over to Playmates, came in and redesigned April, Splinter, Shredder, Bebop, Rocksteady, the Blimp, the Van, the Technodrome, the Knucklehead, the that parachute thing. He invented the look of all of it. Yeah. He designed all of that. And so you got this connection to He-Man and this moment where he came in and designed sort of the whole line in one go. So I went to his widow's house and I said, can we find the drawings? And we did. So we are now going to hopefully the first time still, if they don't get leaked beforehand, but yeah, right. It'll be a first time look at the run of Mark Taylor's art for the line. So that's really exciting that we found that, and that's the first time I've actually told anybody, because it's we said we would try, and we did. We found them.
Oh man, congrats!
Yeah.
So we've got toys, we've got a documentary. I believe you also have a book on your Kickstarter. You guys said, can we talk a little bit about that? How's that coming along?
For sure, the book is written. It's basically a companion piece to the 4-hour documentary that's coming out with this Kickstarter. It's like basically the really in-depth deep diving into all of the interviews and all of our journey during the film or films over the years. So yeah, the book is written. I'm just basically pulling the photos together for Mark to do the layout. Randall, actually, we had to say to Randall, we're going to have to pare back how many words is in here, because you got to balance how much good stuff is in there and how many good photos are in there. So yeah, it's going to be a really cool, hand-in-hand piece with the film, because it's a lot of that. You can set it on your coffee table. You can kind of dive into it. You can look at stuff we've collected in more detail. So it's going to be a nice piece to have. And yeah, it's pretty much ready to start laying out and get ready for the printer now. So.
Oh, man. Good stuff there. So you were also saying now the Kickstarter was completed last year, but you were telling me before we went live that people still actually have an opportunity to either pre-order or support the project more. So can you elaborate more on that?
Absolutely, yeah. So basically that was part of the reason why we did the screening with Fathom, is to help promote the fact that Kickstarter, runs, as we all know, for a period of time, whatever you set it, 30 days or whatever. And then after that's over, oftentimes people will convert it into what they call a backer kit. But the backer kit usually is there for a backer who says, you know what, I didn't buy the toy, but I got the book. Now I'm going to add the toy. So, but you can leave it open and allow people who have not even backed the Kickstarter to come in and still pre-order this. So you can still go to the backer kit for Turtle Power, TMNT Evolution Mutation Reboot, and just order like it's a store. Like it's basically a pre-order store. So you can say, I want just the figures, I want the book and the figures, I just want the book. You can go in and select whatever you want and back it that way. And basically it's a pre-order system. So that is easiest to find. That is if you go to definitivefilm.com, which is our company website, and all the links are right there. Backer kit's kind of difficult to navigate to find things. So just go to definitivefilm.com and you'll find the links right there to the pre-order store and be able to find that.
And what's also cool I noticed on that site is you actually have an autograph of Steve Barrett, who I can't recall. Maybe he has before, but I haven't seen him at any local Comic-Cons. So instead of spending money to go to a con and buying the autograph, you can actually get it from your guys' site too?
Yeah, that's right. We haven't revealed what the art is going to be yet for the poster, but there's going to be a poster, essentially a small poster that we'll send to him, and he will sign a whole bunch of them. So yeah, you can pre-order that as well. The difficult thing with Baron is, of course, he's in the UK. So to get him at local shows here is pretty expensive for the show to get him here. So that's a difficult thing, unless he's already in America for another reason, which is hard to align scheduling wise. So yes, there is a signed poster option in the backer kit as well.
Gosh, what a great way to give the fans who just don't have the opportunity to do that. So again, guys, if you check out that site, he's got plenty of bundles, plenty of options, hard copies of the documentary, digital copies of the documentary. How is production coming along? I know it's been about a year, and again, I know the first documentary did take a while because there's legalities with rights, and you're not Paramount. You don't have thousands of employees working on you. It's only like a baker's dozen given to speak on your team. So can you give us just an update on how the production's coming along?
Sure. I mean that's you're not wrong. As a baker's dozen, as a baker's three. So there's only three. There's only three of us in the company, and a lot of it. Is Mark and the post-production guy and myself, kind of from research and production on the film side. The 4-hour film is all roughed out. It's all roughed together, or what we call assembled. We've got most of the B-roll and the images all laid in, the music laid in. We just got to pretty it up so it's nicer to watch. So it's basically, like we've been saying a lot for a little while, is that yes, we're delayed, but we know how to make films. Films is it's within our repetitious wheelhouse. We've done many films. Toys is the new thing. So toys has taken all of our time and effort to get it going. Once they're this is going and this quote unquote machine is rolling, we can turn the focus over to the film and polish it up relatively quickly. So we can, it's sitting there ready to do that. So I actually did, just like I mentioned, collect some new content for it. So I will be dropping that into the film with the new Steve Barron content. The new Steve Varner content and the new Mark Taylor content. So that will be added into the film, and then we'll just polish it up from there. So I'm relatively confident, other than any unforeseen delays in printing the media, which shouldn't be a problem, that it'll all line up at the same time. That the holdback, or the thing that's going to slow us down is making product.
Exactly. Well, I'm excited for all this. So for those who are listening to Shellonomics for the first time here on Spotify and YouTube, can you explain why you, again, just for those who are listening for the first time to avoid any confusion, why you guys are doing a documentary and how the hell you guys have 4 hours? I mean, as you know, Turtle fans want it all. So to actually have a documentary that's that's longer than Avengers Endgame. So can you just explain how awesome this is and, just the passion behind this project?
Well, the truth is that we've been working with the franchise for 15 years. So when we started this whole process, we thought it was just going to be like a fan film with fans, people who love the Turtles talking about the Turtles. And then what we quickly realized is that this was a really large story with amazing people behind it, great characters, great story of how it became what it became, and we all love the franchise for different reasons. But as you dive into it, you find all those reasons. There's a million different touch points that you can do. So when we did the first documentary, we weren't exactly sure what the outcome was going to be. And when we sold it to Paramount, their requirement was that it was a 98-minute movie, and that was it. It was just a 98-minute movie, and it was about this. So what we had already collected in those first 5 years was more than you could fit in a 98-minute movie, and that was only the first 5 years. So we kept shooting, because if there was any complaints about the first film, was that we couldn't cover some of their favorite things. Like we couldn't get to talking about the 4Kids show, for instance, in the first documentary. So we knew that there was more that we wanted to share, that we had collected, that we could share. We just couldn't figure out exactly how to pull that off, because doing a pop culture documentary at a time before there was such thing as the shows on Netflix, that will remain nameless. Before pop culture projects were common, we were doing that for the first time. So we made that sale because I don't think Paramount or anybody really knew what would happen with it. And it was very successful for them, and that's great. But after that, there was a lot of pop culture products out there, and it wasn't as sure thing to sell. So Nickelodeon wanted to do a second one with us. We had collected a whole bunch of stuff on the Nickelodeon shows and filmed with them exclusively in their animation studios and the voice casting or the voice room and everything. And then for a variety of reasons, that film they never picked it up. They didn't actually end up releasing it. So again, we had now gone 10 years out from releasing Turtle Power 1, and we went, well, we've collected stuff for 15 years. It sounds like sewers locked in a sewer, or turtles locked in a sewer with a rat for 15 years. We've collected this stuff for this long, and we have so much that the fans would really enjoy, like all of our raw content, the archives, the stuff we just have. So we said, you know what? Rather than releasing it on through a distributor that's going to say to us, well, you can't have a 4-hour film, and you can't have this, and you can't show that. You know what? At Kickstarter, you can do kind of anything. You can say, here you go. We'll just give you the raw stuff. We're not selling it. This is just a reward for backing our company. So here you go, right? So we can sort of say, how much can we fit on discs? Can we fit as much of it as we can? Here you go. We'll fit as much of it as we can on the discs that we can afford within the confines of delivery. And it's like, there you go. We can give that out to everybody, and they can enjoy. If they want to sit down and watch like 2.5 hours of Kevin and Peter having meetings at Playmates because Peter recorded it, go ahead. There it is. You don't have to watch the film. You can watch that for 2 hours, or every little bit of behind the scenes that he captured on the first movie set. All of the stuff we captured doing the voice cast reunion in 2009, like all of those things that you can't fit into a movie because because when you make a movie, you're only using 30 seconds here, a minute here, but you might have interviewed that person for 3 hours. Yeah. So if we can kind of give that extra to the fans as collectors and say, here you go. That's a great way to share what we've collected and for the fans to enjoy. And then there's sort of a funny thing, and I'll let you in on a little secret, is that films are difficult to do on Kickstarter because, and I'm not casting shade on people, but we live in a world where people's expectations of media is that they just go watch it on YouTube. And that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, it's the way that people expect to consume things. So they don't tend to go to a Kickstarter and say, I'm going to buy or pay for this content. But I mean, this is our livelihood. This is what we've done for 15 years along with other projects. So at the end of the day, we said, you know what, let's do something that sort of makes it a little sweeter. So you have the book and the toys. Those are things you can't download. Those are things you can't see on YouTube. So if you want to, have something to hold, it draws more people into that whole thing. That's just letting you in on a little secret of what our thinking was, because at the end of the day, we could have just done the Kickstarter for the film and not sold as many, and which is a lot of work for us for a lot of years. And then so when we did the toys and the book, it kind of gives a little bit of extra.
Let alone the hard copies too. Again, I just had a talk with my buddy yesterday. Again, we're kind of the same age. We grew up with, Nintendo, Sega Genesis. I like having the video games. I like having my DVD. I like having my Blu-ray. So you guys are giving us the option. Yeah, you're giving us the option. If you want an exclusive, cover with the Blu-ray, you can get that, or the digital. So no, we appreciate that. I guess if we got a few more minutes here. So the first documentary was awesome. Like I say, it talked too much about almost like the beginning to the peak of Turtle Mania. And then this one's going to deep dive to give fans who didn't have a chance, because a lot of people say arguably the 2003 4Kids show is the best TMNT media out there. So not to spoil too much, because I know you want people to get the program, but did you get to talk to any voice actors from the 2003 show or anything like that for this documentary? For sure, yeah. This sort of longer form doc is more than just a sequel, because in one hand, we could have just said, okay, here's all the stuff that wasn't in Turtle Power 1. But that kind of wouldn't be fair, because what if you didn't see Turtle Power 1? And we also, so I'll get to answering that part of the question, but I'm going to tell you something cool, is that the reason why we're starting kind of at the beginning of the story again is because when we finished recording the first documentary, we had delivered the film to Paramount, and it goes through what's called quality control, and they have to go through it, and then you really can't make any more changes. You can make a little bit of changes if you're lucky. And the week that we sent it in was the same week
that Kevin and Peter had finally, after 20 years, decided to sit down and sign together for the first time in Rochester, New York. And we went, oh no, because that would be a perfect ending to that movie. So we were able to go and film with them, and we snuck, if you watch the first doc, you can see them signing together at the end, and there's a little title card that says, after 20 years of working apart, they finally came back together. And if you watch all the way to the end of the credits, there's a Easter egg that shows the two of them walking away from an empty lot, and the building that they lived in, the house they lived in, appears in the photo because the house is gone. What that was that day the second day we were there when they were signing, it occurred to all of us that we were really close to Dover, New Hampshire, which we kind of knew that would be a sort of a thing that we'd hope they would say. And they said, you know what, we haven't been to that property for, since we invented the turtles in 1983. So we went there the next day for half the day, and the two of them like reminisced and walked around the property. They hadn't spoken at all for like 20 years. So the two of them just walked around that property, and we filmed the whole thing. And so we had this beautiful footage of them retelling kind of the origin of Turtles, where the house was, but we couldn't use it. Like the film was already delivered. So this documentary picks up there. It picks up with the two of them walking on that property and this amazing reunion. And then it kind of picks up a lot of recaps some of the stuff, maybe not as in depth as the first documentary, recaps the toys, recaps the first movie. And then we go into the stuff that we didn't catch. And so to answer your other question was the 4Kids show. Yeah, let me see, did we get almost all the Turtles voices? I think maybe 3 out of the 4, and Splinter. I think, yeah, and yeah, we had a good chunk of the voice cast. We were there filming at 4Kids right during the production of the Turtles Forever film. So that was happening at that time when we were there. So they were still in production, and we could still see what they were doing. So there's some of that will appear in this version of the doc. Yeah.
Man, perfect. And then you also cover the 2012 series too, I presume?
In depth.
In depth. Oh, even better.
The 2012 series is probably the heaviest coverage in this film, because we were filming with them right when they were transitioning from Ciro's show to what's the other one? I'm going to totally blank right now.
Rise of the Turtles?
Rise, yeah. So we were there at the beginning of Rise, so we got some of the pre-development of Rise, some of the transition, but primarily we were in the trenches with the animators because that show was animated in Vancouver, Canada. So the last season was. So we were actually there during the animation. So yeah, we've got like everything on the 2012 show from soup to nuts. The whole thing's there.
Oh man, fantastic! And then where does the doc end? Did you get up to Mutant Mayhem or Mutant?
No, we didn't actually. The doc has more or less been filmed out for a while, so we haven't gone further than that.
Oh man! So with all, I guess just a couple more questions before we bring this in for a landing. So, of all the guests you've had, who is the most special? I know that's hard to answer. I'm putting you on the spot. You got Eastman, Laird, Baron. Is there one that can stand out like above the rest? Just who you met, who was just like such a warm, gentle, easy to talk to, and was really cool getting to know?
That is tough because when you work with this within the franchise for so long, over 15 years, it's hard to say that any one of them is stands out as individual interviews that we had done over the years. But the ones that I think have stuck the most, maybe mean the most, and it's the obvious two I'll get to, but one of them is Steve Varner, because Varner became a friend and kind of a mentor to me in the toy world, and what a really fantastic dude. He's just such a chill, nice guy, and of course he's a fine art sculptor who got into toys and created fine art sculpture for us to live our childhoods with, right? Or to enrich our childhoods. They were all fine art sculpture. That's what they were, and they are. So he's fantastic. But I mean, Kevin and Peter are incredibly special to us because what we try to do, and it sounds self-aggrandizing a little bit, but we really pride ourselves on being, how do I put it? Trustworthy is a kind of a crass way to put it, but we want to build relationships with the people that we're making a film about, because at the end of the day, you're kind of entering into somebody's life and kind of observing it and pulling on it, and it is this exploitative in a way. You're kind of pulling people's story, but the quality of their story is only as good as how comfortable they are with you, if that makes sense. Yeah. So we wanted to really establish that positive relationship with Kevin and Peter from out of the gate. And I think that bore true, because they, to this day, we do stay in contact with them and their families, because through telling their story, you kind of become part of their story in a way. So those two men individually, or specifically amongst all of the people we've interviewed for years and years of all the different films we've done, have remained the most special, because they're just two artists who were just two indie artists who had a great idea and executed it on a great idea, and their story is appealing to everyone and can be understood by everyone. It's a true rags to riches story, and it's just they're great people. They're like salt of the earth people. They can't, Kevin and Peter are like the nicest two dudes. This success couldn't have happened to two better people in a way, right? Yeah. Sometimes success happens and you go, oh, that guy was a bit of a jerk or something. Those two guys are truly amazing. So that was probably the most special, is to really have established that with them.
Oh, absolutely. And without them, like you say, we wouldn't be talking right here without these two guys. We wouldn't be doing this podcast here. So we're recording this in August. I would say, what are Definitive Films' goals for the rest of the year regarding this project?
Yeah, I would say we're probably a little behind schedule for release in 2025. So our goals is to get the toys up and running hopefully within the next few months into production. And then as we get into the new year, round out the production of the toys and start polishing up the content to put on discs, which won't take very long once we kind of turn that around. The book is, like I say, it's ready. So I can't make any promises, but I would say, early in 2026, we should probably be on track to starting to ship stuff out.
Perfect. So if people want to take advantage of this pre-order, whether it's a birthday gift for a friend, a Christmas gift for a friend, or to get something for yourself, once again, can you plug all the socials on where they can order this, Isaac, please?
For sure. Yeah, you can find us on definitivefilm.com. We're on socials on Definitive Film, I believe, on Instagram and stuff. But yeah, if you go to definitivefilm.com, you'll find all our links and the links to the backer kit where you can still pre-order this. Yeah.
Perfect. Isaac, as always, it's a pleasure talking to you, and thank you again for making the 35th anniversary movie that much more special, seeing a couple of the sneak peek what we got to come in this documentary.
I'm just sorry I had to look at my bald head in front of that movie. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
You got it.
Another episode of Shellonomics is in the books. If you guys have not yet checked out all of our other amazing episodes, we've had amazing guests. We've talked about the 1987 cartoon, 2003 cartoon, Next Mutation, coming out of their shells, video games, the comics, crossover comics like Batman and the Power Rangers, and tons of amazing content with you guys, the fans. Be sure to stop by our YouTube channel, Spotify, and Twitch. And if you have somebody who'd like to be on the show, get in touch with us at kingmikedas@gmail.com. That's KINGMIKEDAS@gmail.com.